20,000 years ago in prehistoric Europe, a brave group of hunters, led by their chief Tao, prepares to take down a herd of mighty steppe bison. They form a wall of sharp spears, forcing most of the beasts to charge toward the cliff's edge. But 3 stubborn bison refuse to flee, and one massive bull locks eyes on Tao's son, Keda. With a sudden, savage strike of its horns, the beast slams into Keda, lifting him off his feet like a rag doll. It drags him toward the cliff's edge, its raw power unstoppable. Desperate, Tao thrusts his spear into the beast's side, but it's too late. Keda loses his balance and tumbles into the abyss below. This all begins 1 week earlier when the young hunters of the tribe are put to the test, proving their skill in crafting spears. In the end, only Keda and his best friend Kappa succeed, earning the right to join the final hunting expedition before winter arrives. As part of their passage into adulthood, the other men of the tribe strike them, a painful lesson that will stay with them forever. Pain, they are told, is a companion on the journey of life. By the glow of the campfire, the local shaman blesses them, sealing their fate as true hunters. That night, as Keda pretends to sleep, he listens to his parents, Tao and Ro, whispering. Ro fears that Keda is not ready, believing he leads with his heart instead of his spear. But Tao insists. Keda must step forward, face the hunt, and prove himself to the tribe. The next morning, the hunting party sets off, saying farewell to their loved ones and receiving the shaman's blessing. Before Keda leaves, Ro hands him an extra piece of fur, a small token meant to keep him safe. They travel across the land, following the sacred path, an ancient trail left by their ancestors. Stone sculptures guide the way, their hand-painted markings pointing toward the great hunting grounds. As they move forward, they encounter another hunting party led by Shi, an old friend of Tao's who has recently lost his son. The two groups join forces, continuing the journey together. Keda desperately wants to make his father proud, but every attempt seems to fall short. He struggles to start a fire, fumbling with the sticks, and when the hunters capture a wild boar, he can't bring himself to strike the killing blow. Each failure weighs on him, making him wonder if he truly belongs among the hunters. One night, as the hunting party gathers around the fire to eat, they hear a strange noise coming from behind them. They quickly leap into defensive positions, ready to protect themselves. But when the sound fades, they relax, thinking it was nothing. Unfortunately, their calm is short-lived. A cave lion leaps from the shadows, snatching Kappa and dragging him away into the darkness to feast. The next morning, the men build a cairn, a pile of stones to honor Kappa and send his spirit to the afterlife. With heavy hearts, they continue their journey, stopping only to hunt and rest. Later, they find a large, safe cave to sleep in. Tao sees this as the perfect moment to mark Keda with a tattoo of the constellations, just like his own. It's a symbol that will guide him home, no matter where his path leads. After many long days of traveling, the hunters finally spot a trail of dung leading them to a herd of steppe bison, bringing the hunt full circle. Just like before, Keda falls from the cliff, trying to grab hold of the rough edge, but he slips and tumbles onto a lower ledge. He breaks his leg in the fall and loses consciousness. In a panic, Tao tries to climb down to his son, but the other hunters stop him, explaining that it's already too late. While the men begin preparing sleds to carry the bison back, Tao stays by the cliff's edge, refusing to believe his son is gone. The next day, Shi's party leaves to return to their home, and Tao's group spends one last night camping before they finally convince their leader that it's time to move on. The next morning, Tao builds another cairn to honor his son, his tears of grief falling with each stone he adds. Hours later, after the party has gone, a vulture lands on Keda, eager to feast on him. This startles Keda awake, and in a surge of strength, he wrings the bird's neck, pushing it away. Realizing the gravity of his situation, Keda drags his broken leg behind him, trying to climb down the cliff, but the edges are too smooth, and he ends up hanging by his hands in a long, painful moment. Suddenly, a storm arrives, flooding the ground below, and Keda knows what he must do. He lets go of his grip, falling into the rushing water and slipping back into unconsciousness. When Keda wakes up the next morning, the rain has stopped, and the flooding is gone. He drinks water from a puddle, carefully splints his injured foot, and slowly begins the long climb back to the top of the cliff. There, he finds the cairn his father made for him, but in a burst of anger, Keda kicks it away when he realizes he's been left alone to survive on his own. Now Keda begins his journey alone. He survives by eating bugs, filling his canteen from any puddle, and climbing trees to sleep safely away from predators. One afternoon, a pack of wolves finds him, and Keda runs for his life. As one wolf grabs grabs his leg. Keita stabs it with a sharp stick, then climbs higher into the tree, finally escaping to safety. Keita stays perched high in the tree, watching as the wolves grow tired of waiting. One by one, they leave, except for the injured wolf still whimpering in pain. Keita prepares a spear, ready to finish it off, but when the time comes, he can't bring himself to do it. Instead, he tries to ignore the wolf, but its painful whining is too much to bear. Unable to ignore it any longer, Keita decides to help. He ties the wolf's snout to keep from getting bit, then carefully lifts it and carries it toward the lake to clean its wound. However, their rest is short-lived as hyenas are nearby, so Keita must keep moving. He carries the wolf again until they find a safe cave where they can finally sleep without danger. The next morning, Keita discovers a mortar next to a pile of bones. He uses it to make a plant salve, which he carefully applies to his injured foot. Meanwhile, the wolf manages to free its snout. After seeing that the animal is calm, Keita decides to share some of his water with it, which the wolf finally accepts after growling for a while. Keita doesn't stop there. He uses the fur his mother gave him to clean the wolf's wound, and even shares the worms he finds along the way. The wolf, now trusting him, begins to eat the food Keita offers. Worms aren't enough to keep them both fed, so Keita finally gathers the courage to make his first hunt. He kills a rabbit with a rock, and for the first time, manages to start a fire to cook it. The wolf tries to steal the rabbit from him, but Keita quickly pushes it away, remembering the lessons his father taught him about leadership. Keita establishes his dominance by always eating first and feeding the wolf only after he's done. No matter how much he shares, the wolf still refuses to let Keita touch it. Winter is quickly approaching, and Keita knows he must find his way home before the snow starts to fall. He doesn't believe he can make it without his father, but he knows he has to try. After gathering enough supplies and struggling with the wolf to get his fur back, Keita leaves the cave and begins his journey. Frustrated, Keita tries to tell the wolf to go away, but it won't leave him, no matter how many times he orders it. Finally, Keita gives up and accepts the wolf as his travel companion, even teaching it to come when he whistles. Their first attempts at hunting together don't go well, but after a few tries, they finally figure out how to work together and catch their prey with less trouble. At night, Keita checks the direction they're going by looking at the constellation tattoo on his hand. The wolf, now more trusting, starts sleeping next to him, even letting Keita touch him. After an afternoon spent in the lake, bathing and fishing, Keita decides to name the wolf Alpha. He feels like they've truly become a team. Their journey is taking so long that winter finally catches up with them, and snow begins to fall. One evening, while they are eating by the bonfire, a pack of wolves approaches them, and it turns out to be Alpha's family. Knowing how it feels to miss loved ones, Keita tells Alpha to go with them, understanding that it's time for his friend to be with his own kind. Now, Keita is left to continue his journey alone. It's a lonely feeling, but he knows he has to keep going. As time passes, snowstorms become more frequent, and Keita struggles to make much progress each day. One night, he has a heartbreaking dream of Tao coming home and telling Ro the terrible news. After a few more days of walking through another storm, Keita finally spots Alpha and its pack. He runs toward them, but the ice suddenly cracks beneath his feet, and he falls into the freezing water. As his mother's fur and most of his supplies float away, Keita desperately hits the ice with his knife. With Alpha's help, Keita is pulled out of the water just in time. The two of them continue traveling together, and later that night, Keita holds Alpha close to warm his cold body. After traveling a few more miles, they find a trail of tracks leading to a hut. But sadly, the owner has frozen to death. There's no food inside, but Keita picks up a bow and arrow to hunt, ignoring the worried look Alpha gives him as the wolf suddenly starts coughing up blood. Sometime later, Keita and Alpha find themselves trapped between a rock and a hard place. Hyenas are chasing them, and a dangerous storm is heading their way. They run as fast as they can until they find a cave to hide in, but it's not empty. A cave lion attacks them right away. Alpha fights the lion with all his strength while Keita loads an arrow, carefully aiming to hit the right spot. He manages to kill the lion and save Alpha, though the wolf is badly hurt from the fight. As they continue their slow journey through the snowstorm, Keita spots the sculpture that marks the sacred path. He knows they must be getting close. His hope grows even stronger when the northern lights appear one night, a sign from his ancestors that they are being guided. However, Alpha is too weak to keep going, and one day, he finally collapses. Not wanting to leave his friend behind, Keita begins to carry Alpha in his arms, ignoring his own weakness and the blood he keeps coughing up. The conditions are so harsh that Keita eventually collapses too, but then he finds strength in a memory that comes to him in a dream. It's the conversation he overheard between his parents the night before they left. Tao had told Ro that Keita was stronger than even he knew, just to ease her worries. With his father's belief in him fueling his determination, Keita wakes up, picks up Alpha again, and carries him through the storm until they finally reach his tribe. Nobody can believe what they're seeing, and Tao cries as he tells his son how proud he he is before leading him and the wolf into a tent to be cared for. After Keta is patched up and fed, the shaman examines Alpha and realizes something surprising. Alpha is actually female, and she's about to give birth. All the puppies are born safely and healthy, and the tribe welcomes them as part of the family. Years later, once the puppies grow into strong adult wolves, they are assigned to hunters as partners and taken along on the next great hunt before winter. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps.